Let me tell you a story about a woman called Zinara. At one time, she was known as the most beautiful bride in all of Idera village. When she walked through the market, people stopped to stare. When she passed by on the footpath, men forgot their conversations. When she smiled, even angry hearts softened. People used to say that the gods had taken their time to create her. But by the time I finish this story, you will understand why the same Zinara who was once admired by everyone would later become the woman people feared in silence. A bride surrounded by graves. A woman whose marriages ended in mourning. But let me not rush ahead. Let me begin from the beginning. Idera village lay between two low hills, surrounded by tall palm trees and wide farmlands. In the mornings, roosters crowed proudly from rooftops. Women swept their compounds with long brooms made of palm leaves. Men carried hoes and cutlasses as they walked toward their farms. Smoke rose gently from cooking fires. The smell of boiling yam, roasted maize, and pepper soup floated through the air. Children ran barefoot along dusty paths, chasing chickens and laughing without care. Life in Idera was simple. Hard. But peaceful. And in such a village, news traveled fast. Especially when it involved beauty. And marriage. And death. Zinara was the daughter of a respected palm oil trader. She grew up surrounded by comfort and care. From childhood, people admired her gentle manners and bright eyes. As she became older, her beauty only increased. By the time she reached marriage age, suitors lined up at her father's gate. Farmers, traders, hunters, craftsmen. All wanted her. All believed that marrying Zinara was a blessing. Her first husband was a young farmer named Teo. Strong, hardworking, full of dreams. Their wedding was celebrated for 3 days. Drums beat from morning till night. Women danced in colorful wrappers. Palm wine flowed freely. Elders prayed for fruitfulness and long life. For a while, everything seemed fine. Then, barely 3 weeks after the wedding, Teo was found dead on his mat. No wound. No sickness. No warning. People said maybe he had weak blood. They mourned. They moved on. Then Zinara married again. This time, to Sadiq the blacksmith. A man with arms like iron and laughter like thunder. People said, this one is strong, nothing will happen. But 3 weeks later, Sadiq also died in his sleep. Fear began to whisper. Still, people tried to ignore it. The third husband was Kola the trader. The fourth was Emika the hunter. The fifth was Bamadil the carpenter. Each wedding was joyful. Each marriage ended the same way. With wailing. With burial. With unanswered questions. 6 husbands. 6 graves. 1 woman. Still alive. Still beautiful. Still calm. Whispers spread through Idera. Some said Zinara was cursed. Some said she was a witch. Some said jealous spirits followed her. Some said her beauty was dangerous. But nobody had proof. And nobody had courage. Because Zinara never behaved like an evil person. She cried quietly at funerals. She wore black. She stayed indoors. She spoke gently. She avoided gossip. She looked like a woman crushed by sorrow. Not a destroyer. After the third husband died, Zinara's parents hired a young girl to help her at home. Her name was Lomi. She was 17. Slim. Quiet. Observant. The daughter of poor farmers. She came to cook, clean, and fetch water. And slowly, she began to notice strange things. Zinara never ate at night. She locked her door every evening. She sometimes whispered alone. She sometimes cried deeply after midnight. Not the crying of sadness alone, but of fear. One night, Lomi heard Zinara begging softly in her room. Please, not again, please. The words chilled her heart. The next morning, Zenara acted normal. She smiled. She greeted people. She braided her hair. As if nothing had happened. 2 months later, Zenara announced another wedding. The groom was Musa, a gentle palm wine tapper. Kind. Honest. Full of hope. People were afraid. But love pushed fear aside. Lami watched Musa laugh. Watched Zenara smile, and felt danger in her bones. She knew. If nothing changed, another grave was coming. And somewhere in her heart, Lami made a decision. She would find the truth. No matter the cost. After Zenara announced her new wedding, Idara village did not celebrate the way it used to. There were no loud songs in the market. No excited gossip by the river. No joyful teasing among young men. Instead, there were whispers. Long looks. And quiet prayers. People were afraid to say it openly, but everyone was thinking the same thing. Would Musa survive? Or would he also join the line of forgotten husbands? Lami felt this fear more than anyone. Each time she served Zenara food and watched her eat silently, she wondered how such a gentle woman could be connected to so much sorrow. Each time she saw Musa smiling proudly, talking about his future, her heart tightened. She remembered the strange cries at night. The locked door. The whispered begging. And she knew she could not remain silent. From that day, Lami began to observe Zenara more carefully. She noticed that every evening, just before darkness fell, Zenara always finished her chores early. She bathed. She changed her clothes. She prayed quietly. Then she entered her room and locked the door. No matter who knocked, she never answered. Not until morning. One afternoon, Zenara told Lami she was going to visit her tailor in the next village. I will return before sunset, she said. As she left, Lami watched her disappear down the dusty path. Her heart began to beat fast. This was the opportunity she had been waiting for. With shaking hands, she walked toward Zenara's room. The door was locked, as usual. But when she looked closely, she noticed that the window was slightly open. Just enough for fresh air to enter. Just enough for a small body to pass through. She dragged a stool closer. Climbed carefully. And slipped inside. The room felt heavy, not hot. Not cold. Just uncomfortable. As if something unseen was watching. The curtains were drawn, keeping sunlight away. A strange smell filled the air. Like smoke mixed with dried herbs. Lami stood still for a moment, gathering courage. Then she began to look around. Near the bed, under a small wooden table, she saw a clay pot. It was covered with a red cloth. White chalk markings surrounded it. Dry leaves lay beside it. Her hands trembled as she lifted the cloth. Inside were cowries, dark powders, dried blood stains, and small bone fragments. But what shocked her most were the rings, several wedding rings. Old. Rusty. Familiar. She recognized one immediately. It belonged to Sadiq. Her knees weakened. She sat on the floor in disbelief. So the rumors were true. Something dark lived in this house. Suddenly, she heard footsteps outside. Zenara had returned early. Panic seized her. She had no time to escape. Quickly, she crawled under the bed. Her heart beat so loudly she feared it would betray her. The door opened. Zenara entered quietly. She dropped her basket and sighed deeply. Then she locked the door. I am so tired, she whispered to herself. She sat on the bed and removed her head tie. Lami could see her feet trembling. Zenara stood and walked toward the clay pot. She uncovered it and held one cowrie tightly. Please, she whispered, give me strength again. Suddenly, the room grew cold. The shadows on the wall began to move. A large, twisted shadow appeared. Not human. Not normal. It spoke in a dry, hollow voice. You will give another life. Zinara fell to her knees. I cannot continue, she cried. I am tired. You agreed, the shadow replied. Your life for theirs. Lumi covered her mouth in horror. Now she understood. Zinara was trapped. Not evil. Not cruel. A prisoner of her own desperation. The shadow disappeared. Zinara collapsed on the bed, sobbing. After a while, Lumi crawled out quietly and escaped through the window. She ran behind the kitchen, shaking and breathless. She now knew the truth. And she knew one thing clearly. If nothing changed, Musa would die. That night, Lumi did not sleep. She lay on her thin mat, staring at the ceiling, listening to the sound of crickets outside and the distant barking of dogs. But she heard none of it. All she could hear was the hollow voice in Zinara's room. You will give another life. You agreed. Your life for theirs. Each word repeated in her mind like a drumbeat. Boom. 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 She turned from one side to another. Sweat covered her body. Fear wrapped around her chest like a tightrope. Zinara was not a wicked woman. She was trapped. Cursed. Bound by something stronger than human strength. And now Musa was next. Early the next morning, Lumi rose before anyone else. She swept the compound slowly. Fetched water quietly. Cooked Zinara's breakfast without speaking. But her eyes followed Zinara everywhere. Zinara looked thinner than before. Her cheeks had sunk. Dark circles surrounded her eyes. She ate little. She smiled less. She moved like someone carrying a heavy load no one else could see. Lumi watched her and felt pity. But pity alone would not save Musa. Later that afternoon, Musa visited. He came with a bright smile and new sandals. He greeted everyone cheerfully. My wife-to-be, he said proudly, holding Zinara's hand. Soon, I will no longer sleep alone. Zinara forced a smile. Her fingers were cold. Lumi noticed. And her heart broke. As Musa and Zinara sat under the mango tree talking, Lumi pretended to wash plates nearby. She listened carefully. Musa was making plans. He talked about building a bigger house. Starting a farm. Having children. Growing old together. Each word was filled with hope. Each word was filled with life. And Lumi knew he did not have much time. That evening, she made her decision. She would tell him. No matter the risk, no matter the consequences. Truth was better than silent death. After dinner, when the moon rose high and most people had gone to sleep, Lumi quietly approached Musa. He was sitting alone, sharpening a small knife. Musa, she whispered. He looked up, surprised. Lumi. Is anything wrong? She hesitated. Her throat felt dry. Her hands shook. But she gathered courage. There is something you must know about Zinara. He laughed lightly. You sound serious. What is it? Lumi looked around to make sure no one was listening. Then she leaned closer. She is cursed. Musa frowned. What do you mean? She is bound to a spirit, Lumi continued. A dark spirit. It feeds on the lives of her husbands. Musa stood up suddenly. That is nonsense. I saw it, Lumi said firmly. In her room. I heard it speak. I saw the ritual pot. I saw the rings. His face changed. The smile disappeared. You are lying, he whispered. I am not. She told him everything. About the shadow. The cowries. The agreement. The sacrifice. The promise of life in exchange for death. By the time she finished, Musa's hands were trembling. They stood in silence for a long time. Finally, Musa spoke. If this is true, why doesn't she run away? Because she cannot, Lami replied. The spirit will follow her anywhere. Then why not tell the elders? The spirit will kill her, Lami said softly. And maybe you too. Musa sank onto a stone. His dreams shattered in one night. But I love her, he said quietly. Lami felt tears in her eyes. And she loves you, she replied. That is why she cries every night. Musa buried his face in his hands. What should I do? Lami took a deep breath. We must find someone stronger than that spirit. Who? The old priestess in the forest, Lami said. Mama Kara. Musa looked up sharply. The one people fear. Yes. The one who speaks to ancestors. Yes. The one who lives alone among spirits. Yes. He swallowed. That place is dangerous. So is this house, Lami replied. Before dawn, they agreed. They would go secretly. They would seek help. They would fight the curse. Or die trying. Inside her locked room, Zinara sat alone. She pressed her forehead against the wall. Tears rolled down her face. She whispered into the darkness. I cannot do this again. But the darkness did not answer. It only waited. Before the first rooster crowed, Lami and Musa were already awake. The village was still wrapped in darkness. Only the moonlight showed the narrow paths between mud houses. Cold air brushed their skin as they stepped quietly out of the compound. No one saw them leave. No one knew where they were going. And that was exactly how it had to be. They walked without speaking. Past sleeping farms. Past silent streams. Past tall trees that looked like shadows of giants. Each step took them farther from safety. Each step took them closer to danger. Musa held a small torch made from dry grass and palm oil. Its weak flame danced in the wind. Sometimes it almost died. Like his courage. After 2 hours of walking, the forest appeared. Thick. Dark. Unfriendly. The trees stood close together like soldiers guarding a forbidden land. Vines hung like ropes. Birds watched silently from above. Lami stopped. This is where Mama Kara lives, she whispered. Musa swallowed hard. I don't like this place. No one does, Lami replied. Yet many come here when they have no other choice. They stepped inside. The air changed immediately. It felt heavier. Colder. As if unseen eyes were watching. Dry leaves cracked under their feet. Somewhere, something moved. Musa tightened his grip on the torch. Deep inside the forest, they saw smoke. Thin. Gray. Rising slowly. They followed it. And soon, they found her. Mama Kara sat before a small hut made of sticks and clay. Her hair was white like cotton. Her skin was dark and wrinkled like old tree bark. Beads and bones hung around her neck. Her eyes were sharp. Too sharp for her age. She did not look surprised to see them. She was already waiting. You are late, she said calmly. Her voice sounded like dry leaves rubbing together. Lami froze. How did you know we were coming? She asked. Mama Kara smiled slightly. The spirits told me. Musa stepped forward. Please, Mama, he said. We need help. She looked at him closely. Sit, she commanded. They obeyed. She poured white powder on the ground. Drew strange symbols. Muttered words no one understood. Then she closed her eyes. Silence fell. Even the birds stopped singing. The wind paused. Then Mama Kara opened her eyes. They were glowing faintly. The bride is bound, she said slowly, bound by blood and grief. Her father broke the law of nature. He traded death for illusion. And now the debt must be paid. Lomi felt her stomach twist. Can it be broken? She asked. Mama Kara nodded. Yes. But the price is heavy. Musa leaned forward. I will pay it, he said quickly. Any price? The old woman studied him. Are you sure? She asked. Many men say that until pain comes. I am sure, Musa replied. Mama Kara picked up a small wooden bowl. Inside was clear water. Pure. Shining. This is river water, she said. It is truth. It reveals lies. It destroys false life. To free Zinara, she continued, she must choose. Choose between comfort and truth. Between borrowed life and real death. She must willingly touch this water. And let go. Lomi frowned. But water kills her. Yes, Mama Kara replied. And also saves everyone. Musa's face went pale. You mean, she must die? She must return to where she belongs, the woman answered gently. Her spirit is trapped. Only acceptance can free it. Tears filled Musa's eyes. How do we make her choose? You cannot force her, Mama Kara said. You can only remind her who she was. Take this. She handed him a small calabash. Inside was river water mixed with herbs. When the time comes, show her. Let her decide. Lomi held Musa's hand. Will she suffer? She asked softly. Mama Kara shook her head. No. She will be free. As they stood to leave, Mama Kara spoke again. Be careful. The king will not agree. Love makes people blind. Power makes them dangerous. They bowed respectfully and turned away. Their hearts were heavy. But their path was clear. Back at the village, Zinara sat alone in her room. She stared into the milk-filled bowl. Her reflection looked cracked. Broken. Tired. She whispered to herself. How long can I keep hurting them? And for the first time, she thought about letting go. The sun had not yet risen when Musa and Lomi arrived at the palace. The village was still asleep, and the morning mist clung to the ground like a silken sheet. Even the wind seemed to whisper warnings as they approached the gates. Musa clutched the calabash tightly. Inside was the river water Mama Kara had prepared, water that could end a borrowed life but save countless others. Lomi's hand trembled as they walked through the grand courtyard. Guards stood at attention, spears in hand, but they paid no attention to the two villagers. Their task was invisible. Silent. Necessary. At the east wing, the thick wooden doors loomed above them. Musa whispered to Lomi, this is it. Once we go in, there's no turning back. She nodded. We have to remind her of who she was. Inside, Zinara sat in her milk bath. Her once vibrant skin was now pale, cracked in several places. She looked like porcelain under the dim candlelight, delicate yet fragile, suspended in a world that wasn't hers. Her eyes flicked up as they entered. Musa stepped forward, holding the calabash. Zinara, he said softly, look at me. Look at yourself. This life, it isn't yours. The village suffers because of it. Because of you. The cows, the families, they are dying. The children are hungry. Zinara blinked. She lowered her head, tears mixing with the milk. I don't want to die, she whispered. Her voice trembled like a leaf in the wind. You won't die, Zinara, Lomi said gently. You will be free. But you have to choose. For the first time, Zinara's eyes focused on the small calabash. She studied it as if it contained the answer to all her fears. She felt the weight of the villagers, of Musa, of Lomi, of everyone she had hurt, pressing on her chest. Slowly, her hand reached out. Trembling. Hesitating. Then, finally, she dipped her fingers into the water. At first, she flinched. Her cracked skin hissed, white steam rising from the touch of truth. But she did not pull back. She closed her eyes. "I choose to let go," she said softly. The water shimmered around her fingers, then her arms, then her entire body. Milk dripped from her as her skin seemed to dissolve like mist in sunlight. Not pain. Not fear. Only release. Musa and Lomi watched as the milk slowly disappeared into the floorboards. They could see her silhouette, delicate and ethereal, slowly rising above the bath. Then the wind began to howl. Thunder rumbled in the distance. Rain fell on the palace tiles and ran in rivulets down the steps. It was as if the sky itself had been waiting for this moment. Zinara laughed. Her voice was soft, musical, free. It carried over the courtyard and into the village beyond. "I am going back to the river," she whispered. "Where I belong. Where life is real." With that, her figure disappeared into the storm, blending with the rain and mist. Her sacrifice was complete. Outside, villagers began to stir. They noticed something immediately. The air smelled fresh. Earthy. Alive. Streams of water glistened in the fields. The cows lowed, running freely to the streams. Milk returned to their udders, sweet and thick, ready to nourish families again. Musa and Lomi ran to the village square, where news spread faster than fire. Families hugged one another. Tears of relief fell freely. The elder spoke in hushed, reverent tones. "She gave herself to save us. She was a brave spirit. Let this story remind our children, power taken from life cannot last. Only respect and truth endure." Back at the palace, King Obiri fell to his knees. He watched the rain wash away the milk-stained tiles, washing away the madness of his attempts to cheat death. He realized the truth too late. His love had been selfish. His pride had blinded him. But the lesson was clear. The king never demanded milk again. Instead, he became a quiet, just ruler. He rebuilt his palace with the villagers' help. He listened more. He punished less. Years passed. Lami and Musa told the story of the bride who ate souls to the children of the village. They spoke of courage, truth, and sacrifice. They told how Zinara, beautiful but cursed, had chosen the good of many over her own comfort. They told how one girl's decision had restored life to the village. And every time the elders spoke, they reminded the young ones, if you hold too tight to life that isn't yours, it will turn to dust. But if you let go, it becomes part of the world forever. And the children believed. Because in Oza village, the rivers ran full. The cows lowed strong. And the name of the bride who ate souls was never spoken in anger again, only in reverence. Moral of the story: power, beauty, or comfort gained at the expense of others is never true life. True courage is knowing when to let go, and true strength lies in sacrifice for the good of many.